Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. The last video for the request of viewers, I had started with calculations for longevity, the span of life. How long would a person live? How can you find it in terms of the mathematical calculations that are available in astrology? We took up Parashara's methods of amsayu method last time. Amsayu is based upon the navamsa that is crossed by each of the gragas. So the contribution of years came from the navamsa, longitudes and all that. Now today, in continuation of the same request, I am explaining the tool, the Excel tool for a method called the Pindayu method, which is again used when the Surya is strong between, if you were to compare the moon, lagna and Surya. If Surya, sun is comparatively stronger, then you use this method as recommended by the rishis. So in this method, just as before in the last method, you just take out a reference number, the database of the date of birth and all you will have to plug in here. And then once you give a reference number, which is this, it will pull out that particular data and populate the gragas, degrees and all that and erect these charts. In the Pindayu method, unlike the other amsayu method, here the number of years contributed are based upon the exaltation longitude of the planets, the debilitation longitude of the planets. Sun is exactly fully exalted, deeply exalted at 10 degrees in Aries. Moon in Rishabh, and that amounts to 33 degrees. Mars in Capricorn, which is 298 degrees. Mercury at 165 in Virgo. Jupiter 95 in Cancer. Venus 357 in Pisces. And Saturn 200 in Libra. These are the deep exaltation longitudes. And the rishis have given, if the planets are deeply exalted exactly at these longitudes, then the years that it contributes is 19 years. Surya gives 19 years under deep exaltation. Moon gives 25. These are fixed numbers as per what the rishis have specified. We do not know how they arrived at these numbers. So this is the years contributed by the planet for the lifespan of the person when it is deeply exalted. Now, in the same way, the opposite 180 degrees from the deep exaltation longitude or the deep debilitation longitudes. So the formula is just to add 180 and you'll have to deduct from 360 if required. So that these are the degrees under which the planet gets debilitated. So in these degrees, the contribution for life is just half of what it had for exaltation. So it is just half of this value. So that is also populated in these cells. Whereas in a given chart, it might not be fully exalted, or moon is here exalted, but it might be in some degree. Sun is not even exalted. Exaltation position is here for the sun. Debilitation is here for the sun. Sun is somewhere in between. So what do you do for somewhere in between? You proportionately do the life required. That is based upon the actual longitudes are taken from what you are calculating in this data. So the actual longitude of the planets is again listed here. I already listed here, just to copy pasted here as well by formula. And for this longitude, we get the number of years by proportionality, and for the proportionality we determine what is called an arc of longevity. It's a formula you can try to understand if you are interested. But then it is basically a proportion in the circular pattern. So it will tell you how many years for this exact longitude of the planet, how many years that the planet contributes for the Ayush of the person. But this is only a gross contribution, because this will be further subjected to either amplification or in the terms or deduction. In the previous case, we saw amplification was there in the amsayu method, whereas in the Pindayu method, there is no amplification, only deduction. So only harana, not no bharana. So all the bharana part of it I have basically cut off, and I have hid it from the calculation part, so you don't have to fill in anything there. Whereas harana, when the planet is combust, it gets detected when and when it is in the visible hemisphere, which is what above 7 or above 7, that is the bhava which is more than 7, then also its longevity is reduced, and depending on whether it is a benefic or a malefic, and you will have to specify whether it is a natural benefic or a natural malefic. Sun is always a natural malefic, so I have already put in it as a dark. You don't have to touch it. The user has to give inputs only for the light colored values, whether moon is a benefic, because sometimes moon is a waxing moon for some people, it's a waning moon for some people. In this case, moon is here and sun is here, so it is about to reach Amavasya later, so it is a waning moon, so moon becomes a natural malefic. So the user has to choose here. Similarly, a well associated Mercury is a benefic. Here Mercury I find is closer to Mars than Venus. So Mars is a evil planet. So Mercury becomes a evil planet as well. Similarly, for the Kshatru Kshetra Harana, if a planet like the Sun or Moon is placed in a Kshatru Kshetra, and then it loses contribution. So if it is retrograde, it doesn't lose. So you will have to choose whether the planet is in a Kshatru Kshetra and not retrograde. If it is in a Shatru Kshetra and not retrograde, you have to choose Y here. So that is the, yes, it is in enemy's house and it's not retrograde. And this is Krura Udaya Harana, where Udaya is the rising point, the lagna. If you have planets in the lagna, then you will have to fill this. Otherwise, everything will be no. You don't have to even fill some. I mean, it should not be a yes here. If it is if there are planets no planets in the lagna, then you'll have to press. So is the graha which is in the lagna, if it's a malefic in lagna, then you'll have to choose yes. If it's not a malefic in lagna, you can choose no. If it's a lagna lord, you can choose no. For this, you need to also choose whether the lagna is aspected by a benefic. In this case, Venus is aspecting, of course, it doesn't matter here because lagna does not have any planets. So you'll have to fill in these requirements and then press this Pindayu method. Begin this calculation. Basically, what it does is for all the gross years, it finds some fraction. See, sun doesn't undergo any loss. So 1 is coming directly as the fraction. Moon doesn't undergo any loss. Whereas Mars undergoes a loss, Mercury undergoes a loss and all that. So Saturn doesn't undergo a loss. For the lagna, it is not based upon exaltation. I mean, there is no question of lagna getting exalted or anything. It is based upon the previous amsayu method. It is based upon the number of navamshas that it has passed. The lagna year has passed from Aries. So it has already passed 8 navamsas, has gone into the 9th navamsa. It is 8.48. So that will be the number of years contributed by lagna. So you add up all these years and then you'll have to convert it instead of, because these are all based upon 360, you have to base it upon 365, and then you get the number of years as indicated by the Pindayu method. So for this person, you can plot the number of years contributed by each of the planets finally after all the reductions. So your moon seems to be the maximum contributor, and you can get an idea of which planets are supporting your longevity, the span of life. Hope you are able to download this file. I also put a share for downloading this file, and yeah, you can test for various cases that you already know and use it. So thank you very much.